Hello, my name is Megan Turbeville, and this is my original contribution as a final project for my master's program in curriculum and instruction from the American College of Education. This online webinar is for all teachers K through 12. This webinar will focus on classroom management and how teachers can eliminate negative behaviors through various strategies and approaches. Let's first start with the why. Why is this such an important topic to have a webinar on? It seems like no matter where you read or look, teachers everywhere are noticing a rise in negative, unwanted behaviors. Knowing that this is an issue that will not magically go away, we as educators must understand different approaches and ways to eliminate these behaviors. Aside from a better day-to-day classroom, have good classroom management because research has shown that teachers can minimize inappropriate or disruptive student behavior and increase academic engagement through the use of evidence-based classroom management practices. Let's talk about the 5 action steps for classroom management. First one is developing caring, supportive relationships with and among students. 2 is to organize and implement instruction in ways that optimize students' access to learning. 3, encourage student engagement in academic tasks, which can be done by using group management methods like establishing classroom rules and classroom procedures. We'll be talking more about that later with responsive classroom. 4, promote the development of students' social skills and self-regulation. And last, 5, use appropriate interventions to assist students with behavior problems. The first thing we need to ask ourselves is, where can a school start? We're going to look at a school-wide behavior matrix. A school-wide matrix is a tool for teachers and staff that defines certain school expectations, and it can also be used in a classroom for routines and procedures. A school-wide matrix is important because it establishes rules for all the students. Say it's a kindergarten through 5th grade school, those expectations and rules will follow them all the way to 5th grade. It establishes those rules and expectations from a young age and further along. Let's take a look at a school matrix example. As you can see, the top is the character traits that we would like students to have, and on the side is an example of where those students are going to be using them. So for this behavior matrix, it's the classroom, hallway, cafeteria, and arrival and dismissal. These are often areas that have many issues with behavior, and it would help eliminate them by having a school-wide behavior matrix so students understand what it looks like and sounds like to be in those areas. Again, this is just an example of a school matrix, but there are many other examples. Before we talk about individual classrooms and their classroom management, let's take a look at how the shift has happened. Past approaches for classroom management often used to be reactive and punitive approaches, forms of punishment. I think we all can see the chart below and maybe have similar experiences with that in our past school experiences. These are ways that almost shame students. As you can see easily who was in red and who was in green. This is a past approach. We want to get away from the shaming, ticket systems, all of those kind of past approaches that are focusing on the individual student's negative behavior. The present shift is more of a win-win approach. I win as a teacher and you win as a student. Teaching students self-regulation is also important. It's important for the students to know that I, as a teacher, don't control you. You are the one in control of yourself. It puts everything back on the student. And incorporating social emotional learning is an important thing that we'll also start discussing. So with the present shift, we will hopefully have future results. Students can learn to regulate themselves. Teachers and students build genuine relationships, and in the end, academic success will be easier. So let's talk about what the research says. Let's focus on social emotional learning. How does implementing more social emotional learning in classrooms positively affect students? In a recent study, they found that focusing on the student's social emotional development appeared to have the largest contribution to the intervention's effectiveness, in particular on the social emotional outcomes. Moore states that providing praise and consistent consequences for misbehavior and promoting student engagement are all part of that SEL learning. Providing praise is important for students to understand what are they doing well. And next, consistent consequences for misbehavior. This is also important to show that students have high expectations and that there are also consistent consequences for misbehaviors. That's important. It's not punishing the student, but it's having consequences based on those behaviors in the rules and expectations that have been laid out already. And of course, promoting student engagement in the classroom. Let's take a look at the components of SEL. Promotion of social emotional skills have been associated with increased academic engagement, improved behavior, greater attachment to school, protection for at-risk youth, and improved academic achievement. These are all so important to have students be successful in the classroom setting. These are the 5 components of social emotional learning. Students will have self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, relationship skills, and responsible decision making. Now that we know what social emotional learning is, let's look at how we can incorporate that into the classroom. These are some simple things that teachers can do to promote SEL in their classroom. It's simple things that really do go a long way. For one, you can understand your students' interests. Greet students in the morning and show them that you're excited they're in your classroom. Make learning an environment that is fun and interactive. And last, getting to know your students on a one-to-one basis. Getting to know your students' families, their hobbies outside of school can build such a relationship with those students and teachers that can make a lasting impact. So one of the SEL components is building relationships. Responsive classroom is a classroom approach that integrates social and academic learning in order to produce classroom environments that are conducive to learning by integrating social and academic learning. This is an approach that many schools have been shifting towards. It not only promotes SEL components, but other components as well. When responsive classroom is implemented, it can improve reading achievement, build better teacher-student relationships, promote pro-social skills. Students can be more assertive and learn how to speak up and therefore become a little less fearful. Let's take a look at a little bit more in the classroom. Here are the 6 elements of responsive classroom in a Case 6 setting. The first thing that happens is a morning meeting. This promotes a relationship between not only the teachers and a student, but the whole entire class. Morning meetings are they start with a greeting with each other, a sharing activity where students can go around in a circle and share something if they choose. And then there's also an activity that goes along with each morning. All of this is promoting that social emotional skills that are needed in the classroom from students. The next part of responsive classroom is establishing rules. Now, although this is done at the beginning of the year, it's important that in responsive classroom, this is also done throughout the school year. A lot of times teachers are establishing the rules at the beginning and then often not revisiting these rules. It's important to go over these rules and expectations consistently. The next one is energizers. Energizers are fun 1 to 5 minute activities that get students up and thinking in a different way. It could be a fun game or a fun riddle. It's a break from the classroom to allow that more social emotional needs that are being met from the students. The next component, the 4th one, is quiet time. Now, this is an important thing for students to be able to stop and refresh their day. This is often after lunch and recess. Quiet time is a time where students are completely silent. Oftentimes teachers play music or have something going on in the background. Often they turn off the lights, and students can either choose to relax with their head down, draw, read, but the point is that they are getting ready for that next part of their day. A lot of times, morning meeting is an important thing that teachers might have done in the past. However, responsive classroom promotes that the closing circle also happens. Closing circle is similar to morning meeting, but a little less component. It's a reflection on the day, maybe talking about your peaks of the day. It allows students to reflect on their day and to know that a new one is awaiting for them. And the last component of responsive classroom is academic choice. We know that there's a shift in education happening where we acknowledge that students all learn differently. Academic choice is a part of responsive classroom, giving students options of the way they want to learn. Now, this is hard sometimes with the curriculums given, but little choices within the curriculum make a big difference and allow students to take charge of their own learning. One of the components of responsive classroom is morning meeting. Let's look a little bit more into that and just the effects. Having a strong greeting and meeting in the morning fosters a positive class culture and builds relationships. It's allowing everyone to know that they are part of one team. Studies have shown that morning meetings have made huge impacts in not only their overall behavior, but also their overall student achievement. I want to take a minute right now to have you do your own self-evaluation. Take a minute and reflect on some of these questions at where are you in the social, emotional, or behavior management area. How foreign are these classroom management strategies and approaches to you? Have you heard of them? Have you tried some of them? What are a few quick wins for you? What are some things that you're thinking, yeah, I do that already? What are some things that you might be able to implement immediately in your classroom? What are things that you can try right away? And what might be some barriers for you? The next steps for implementing successful classroom management approaches and strategies are these two things: materials and knowledge, and accountability and implementation. As you self-reflected, some things might be things that you can change right away, but some things might be things that you need the entire school to be on the same page. Let's take a few things. Materials and knowledge. To implement classroom management strategies, a school must have the materials in place and teachers must have the knowledge of these approaches. Professional developments provided by the district could allow all teachers to receive the same knowledge and make it easier for schools to head in the same direction. The next thing you need is accountability and implementation. Once teachers have the knowledge and tools, they need to be held accountable by the school to implement the approach, such as responsive classroom with fidelity. Now, when a school has responsive classroom, even though it's been implemented, it really is up to the teacher and possibly administration to make sure that they are all held accountable. Are you as a classroom teacher holding your students accountable on those expectations and rules you set at the beginning of the year? Are your administration making sure that morning meetings are being implemented and that the end of the day closing circle is meaningful and not just to rush out the door? Let's reflect a little on the classroom management strategies and approaches that we've learned. I want you to reflect on some of these things in order to implement a classroom management strategy and implement approach in your classroom. Think about the first step for improving your own classroom management. What might your first step be for improvement? Will you maybe look into responsive classroom or talk to your principal about it? Are you going to maybe start a morning meeting or possibly a closing circle? What might be some barriers you come across? Who or what can help you when you have those barriers? Classroom management is not an easy thing to implement as a teacher, and a lot of students have different needs. Who can you go to for help? Is it your principal, your instructional coach, maybe your colleague? Think about the people that can help you the most when trying classroom management strategies. What do you feel is the main benefit of having a strong classroom management? As we reflect as teachers, think about the why behind it. Why is it so important to have strong classroom management? As we reflect on this webinar, I hope you can realize that it's not only for their benefit, for their social emotional needs and the teachers, but it's also to improve academic achievement. I hope you enjoyed this webinar on classroom management and how to avoid negative behaviors. The next two slides are just for references. To implement something and took away a little bit something about how to eliminate your negative classroom behaviors. Thank you.